welcome to the stage Melody Bostick-Brown, who is going to be talking to none other than Wayfair.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. How are you doing? We're in the home stretch to deliver. Everybody been enjoying themselves at the conference? All right. Well, I'm really excited about today's session this afternoon with Shardé. So my name again is Melody. I'm the Associate Vice President of Blavity Inc. You all may be familiar with some of our brands, which include Travel Noir, Afrotech, Home and Texture. These are lifestyle brands. We also have Talent Infusion, where we basically allow companies like you to source diverse talent for some high positions and maybe hard to reach fill positions. So I'm really excited to speak to Shardé today. So Shardé Marchewski is the head of supplier diversity for Wayfair. How many are familiar with Wayfair? With those home things, right? Do we have any DIYers in the house? Any DIY folks? Shardé and I were talking about that earlier. I do not have that gift. That is not my spirit animal. But today we're going to be talking about DEI suppliers and diversities and some of the efforts that Wayfair has going on. So with that, are we ready, Shardé? Let's get to it. Welcome, Shardé, head of diversity, supplier at Wayfair. Have a seat, have a seat, have a seat. All right, so let's jump right into it.
Yep.
So one of the things you and I discussed when we very first met, right? That's how we meet these days, is about DEI supplier diversity. But first, the main thing you spoke about was the customer, and that today's customer is becoming inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, that's a great question. So customers today are really thinking about their purchases based on their own social values and beliefs. And so we're seeing more and more customers are making purchases based on what they believe in and what they think is right. If you hone in even further on this, about 45% of customers are really expecting retailers to support Black-owned brands, and they're also looking to support BIPOC businesses and brands as well too. So when we start thinking about inclusivity and customers and what's going on, today's customer is really looking for those types of products, and they're looking to support those businesses.
So then that's the customer. From the business side, how do retailers serve that need?
Yeah. So the way that retailers serve that need, and we'll go into this a little bit deeper on what Wayfair is actually doing, but the biggest thing that you can do is lean into this. Listen to the customer, find the products that they're looking for, look for the companies that they are wanting to support. Once you get those products or you have those relationships, tell the world. That's the biggest thing. If you have two things that you need to take from this, lean in, get the product. Two, tell the world about it. Make sure that your customers know that you have this offering. And from there, just increase the visibility and the overall awareness.
And I think to that point, when you say tell the world, you have to deliver something for the world. So one of the things that we've done recently at Blavity Inc. is that we launched Home and Texture, which again is our lifestyle brand, because we noticed that more Black and multicultural millennials in particular are buying homes. They're setting up shop. I think sometimes people think millennials are these 20-year-olds. It's like, no, they have full families. They're in their 30s. Some of us in our 40s. Right? And so we're setting up roots. So we wanted to meet that need. So during that, we're also providing shoppable content.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's so interesting. On the heels of that, Wayfair has launched an initiative when we're talking about supplier diversity, Celebrate Black Makers. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So before I jump into Celebrate Black Makers, I want to take a step back and really explain Wayfair's business model. So Wayfair is an e-commerce platform. We don't make any products on our own. Our business model is really, when you go to wayfair.com, that's a marketplace where we pair our thousands of suppliers with our millions of different customers, and we allow these two parties to meet. So keeping that in the back of your mind, there's really two ways that I think about this. We have supplier diversity, which is internally and how we think about our relationships with the suppliers, and then Celebrate Black Makers. So supplier diversity is really thinking about how do we remove any barriers to success that underrepresented or smaller businesses may experience on our platform? With supplier diversity, this is a program that I built by talking to our various supplier partners, many of which are small businesses, and I just talked to them. I said, like, hey, what's going on? Why don't you want to partner with Wayfair? If you want to partner with Wayfair, why haven't you already? And if there's any other roadblocks that I just don't understand or may not be getting. From there, we created Wayfair Supplier Diversity Program, which does a few things. The biggest thing that I realized is that a lot of small businesses just don't have the bandwidth to manage a major relationship like Wayfair. So, with time being an issue, we made sure that these suppliers have supplier relationship managers. They have somebody that can go in and update their account for them and can really coach them on how to win within Wayfair and the overall model. Another benefit that we offer is faster payment terms. A lot of these suppliers are strapped for capital. They're small businesses again. They're 1, 2, 3 person teams. And so with that, they're really reinvesting a lot of the profits that we make. And so with that, we pay them faster. We pay them in about a fourth the time as the industry average to really help to ease some of that burden. And then on top of that, we've then launched Celebrate Black Makers. So Celebrate Black Makers is our external facing campaign that allows customers to easily find these Black owned businesses that we've recently onboarded. So if you go to Wayfair right now, and I think we have a slide here. If you go to Wayfair right now and if you type in Black owned, you'll be able to see our Celebrate Black Makers page. And this allows customers to easily find products from Black owned businesses. Also, if you search throughout Wayfair, you can find a filter on various different classes, and it'll say Black owned. You can search for products that way. And there's also a VizCon, which is a little this little brown heart that'll let you know that the product is either Black owned or Black designed. And so thinking about that again from like the supplier standpoint, how that translates into Celebrate Black Makers. Celebrate Black Makers is how we really push these suppliers in front of our customers. Supplier diversity is how we coach suppliers to make sure that they win once they're on our platform.
Fantastic. So this is a fairly new initiative.
Mhm.
So what does success look like? How is that being measured? What's determining that for Wayfair?
Yeah, so I think about success really in 3 different ways right now. The first one is supplier acquisition. So if we go back and think about what I said on if there's 2 things that you need to take away, one is getting the product, getting that partnership, and then 2, telling the world. If you've built a program or a relationship that makes people want to be affiliated with your company, you should be able to increase the number of diverse businesses that you operate and work with. So my major KPI is how many new Black owned businesses can we get on our platform and on our site? That's the first thing. The next thing is really impressions or visits. So this goes back to tell the world. So once we've gotten these products on our site, how are we then making sure that customers know that they exist? And are we actually seeing more traffic and views and impressions to these items? Ideally, if more people are seeing these products, it should translate into more sales and more revenue. So that's the third KPI, which is, it's pretty obvious. You want to make sure that you see sales and
Right,
that
dollars. Yes,
you're being
yes.
successful. But it's really that roadmap. First, get more diverse businesses that you're working with. 2, make sure people know about it. Measure it by looking at the visits and the traffic and the shelf space that they're getting. And then 3, when you're putting it in front of people, make sure that they're actually converting and that they're buying these items. And also one thing too, we've also launched on All Modern, which I'm not sure if you guys know is a Wayfair brand as well, and Paragold. So if you go to these sites as well and type in Black owned, you'll also find these pages.
That's fantastic. So I want to go back to something you touched on a little bit. So at Blavity Inc., we are a certified diversity supplier. But one of the things that we have heard from entrepreneurs, DEI startup businesses, is that we want to work with retailers, we want to work with larger companies, but scalability. Meaning, how do I get my X product out to X amount of people now that I have broader reach? How is Wayfair solutioning that to make sure it's not a barrier for working with DEI suppliers?
Yeah, that is a great question. So the biggest thing that I did was, like I said, have conversations with suppliers to get an understanding of what their roadblocks are. I think one assumption that I had wrong was that, suppliers we just need to learn e-commerce more. How do you coach them on speed and on price competitiveness? That wasn't the major issue. The major issue is that these suppliers are small. Oftentimes they're run by one person. That one person may be making the product. They're the CEO, they are the chief product officer, they're the chief operating officer, they're also customer service. And most of the time they're running their own direct-to-consumer websites, right? And so that's their main source of revenue and income. And so when it comes to thinking about other retailers that they can partner with, they don't have time to think about Wayfair or any of our other competitors. And so after I started to think about, man, okay, if you guys actually want to grow with us, I have to do something. Like, I need to make this relationship work so that you're able to scale and so that you're able to grow with Wayfair and you're able to really start going more into mass retail. And so with that, like I said, we launched Supplier Diversity. We thought about how to remove various roadblocks. And so one of those was taking time, or I guess giving time back to these suppliers by having an internal resource within our company to do some of the work for them. Other issues that come up are just natural growing pains. You know, we start thinking about suppliers that are going out of stock quickly now that they have more views. You think about, now that suppliers have more volume, how do you talk to them about cost efficiencies and bringing down wholesale cost? A lot of that is also just rolling up your sleeves and talking to your supplier as they start to grow and get bigger and really get deeper into whatever industry that you may be operating in.
Yeah, because it's a two-way relationship. So it's not just a one-off. There's constant communication,
Yep.
constant tweaking. So we talked about kind of working directly, the relationship aspect. We talked about KPIs, right? Measurement. What about resources from a Wayfair or retailer perspective? What resources, whether it's personnel, whether it's tools, to make sure a DEI supplier ecosystem is successful, or even get it off the ground, Shardé?
Yeah.
How do we even start?
Yeah. So it's hard to say exactly what your company needs in regards to resources and how to launch supplier diversity or to really embed DEI in your commercial strategy. But I can tell you how we started, and I think that other folks can use that as a leverage point.
So get your pens ready,
Yeah,
your phones
get
ready.
your pens ready.
There's
To tell you
no
the
time.
secret. So what we did was just take a step back and think about where within our organization can we start to think about diversity and how do we embed it there. And so before I started running supplier diversity, I sat on the Wayfair Canada team and I oversaw all of furniture and decor. And I sat within category management. So I was very close to the business, the strategy, the supplier coaching, thinking about what consumers want. Sorry. And with that, I also was one of the leads of our Black ERG. So I started to think, how can we marry the two? Because I know for a fact there's Black businesses out there that sell home goods, but I don't see them. And are they on our platform? I have no idea. And so the first thing we did was say, okay, well, how can I start where I am within category management and start thinking about how can we bring diversity here? After I began to think about this and a roadmap and pitched it to other people, we really decided there needs to be a full-time resource that understands the business and they understand the model that takes this and runs with it. And so that's how we thought about resourcing it within Wayfair's walls. I think as you start to think about how to embed diversity within your overall strategy, take a step back and first think about where does it feel feasible for me to do this? And this could be when you start to think about budgets. A lot of companies do an annual plan or a semi-annual plan. Start to think about various lanes within your organization. And this could be procurement, it could be vendor spending, whatever it is. Take the mindset of how can we make this more inclusive or how can we bring a lens of diversity here? And as you start to create that strategy and think about it, I think you'll start to find the resources that you'll actually need to get it off the ground.
That's fantastic. So, from a customer perspective, they do want to purchase and shop with companies, right, who have social values. I think in this conversation, there's been a lot of nuggets, right? When we talk about KPIs, when we talk about sourcing, when we talk about procurement. If the audience here who's been here enjoying this conference takes only one thing away from this conversation when we're talking about DEI supplier initiatives, what should that be? And I know there's a ton.
Yeah.
If they didn't get anything else, what should they get from this conversation?
So, besides the first thing I said of acquire the product and then tell the world, I would say the biggest thing that you can do to really have a successful DEI strategy is to take the lens of this is good for my business rather than it feels good. And I think there's like a big thing to separate there. Oftentimes, when we think about helping underrepresented groups or amplifying businesses that may not get the shelf space that others get, it comes from the sense of this feels good to do, which I think is completely right, right? It feels good. But I think if you only leave it there, then you don't take that extra step and extra mile to really put in the thought on how do we grow it? How do we make sure that this feels like something that we can do in the long term? I think that once you start taking the lens of customers actually want this, and this report that we talked about, it's from McKinsey. If you guys Google McKinsey Inclusive Customer Report, you can read all this great information. But customers want to see this. You know, 2/3 of consumers, like I said, are really basing their shopping on their social morals and their beliefs. And
And
many
that's
folks,
increasing as the
yeah,
audience gets
yes,
older, right? We talk about millennials, Gen Zs.
absolutely. It's only going to increase. And this also goes with sustainability. There's a lot of different things that go into this. And so I think if you take the lens of this is good for the business, we will see more revenue. This is a great way for us to possibly diversify partnerships and to get more products on the shelves and tap into new demographics and different customers. I think you'll start to really create a strategy that feels long term and can be really successful because you've gone beyond that view of this feels good into not only does it feel good, not only does it feel good, it's actually really good for our business and it's something that we should be doing if we want to remain competitive over the next few years.
Love that. From fad to being intentional with the strategy.
Exactly.
All right. So I cannot believe 20 minutes went by like that.
I know.
That fast.
Very fast.
Right? So Shardé and I will be here for until about 4:30 or so. Hanging around if anyone has any questions, any additional insights from us, just want to chat, just want to meet, we'll be here. But thank you so much for your time. Shardé, dropping gems here at
That's right.
Deliver. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you enjoyed.